the story are Beatrice or Tris Pryor and Tobias Eaton, two rebels who find themselves allied with the Allegiant in the fight against Tobias's evil mother, Evelyn Johnson, the ruler of the Factionless, who's destroyed the faction system in the city of Chicago and has basically sent the city into turmoil. Tris is a small-framed but brave girl who's not afraid to sacrifice herself for a cause, while Tobias is a large and burly man who is more focused on Tris than the actual cause itself at most times.
Oh, this is the end of everything that I've known.
The plot of the story is very complex, but basically, Tobias's evil mother has taken over the city, so Tobias and Tris and a small group of their friends leave to escape the city. When they escape, they find out that there is a Bureau of Genetic Damage dictated by the US government that has basically dictated their whole lives. Their whole lives has been based around this idea of genetic damage, which is the idea that the government altered people's genes to try to make them be better, but it ended up backfiring and now many people are genetically damaged. And it's the Bureau's idea that by putting people into these faction systems, they can erase genetic damage, and that's what Tris and Tobias' whole lives have been. This obviously enrages them, and they try twice to take down the Bureau of Genetic Damage, and the first time fails, the second time succeeds, but the second time succeeds at the cost of Tris's life, which is very sad. And in the end, Tris dies, which does not set this up for much more of a sequel, but it does make a very powerful story.
The end of everything that I've known. So come on.
The theme of this book is sacrifice and love. Besides there being a kissing scene on every other page, and Tris and Tobias obviously having a great love for each other, sacrifice is really important to this novel too, as it's shown throughout the whole entire thing. Throughout the whole novel, people are willing to sacrifice themselves, including their own lives, to save those around them and their other genetically damaged people. And in the end, Tris ends up giving up her life to save Tobias and other genetically damaged people when she isn't even genetically damaged, which truly speaks to how sweet the story is. The two women whom I cited in the book reviews were Suzanne Rausch and Rebecca Hayes. Suzanne Rausch had an extremely short book review where her main point was how surprised she was that Tris and Tobias' whole lives had just been genetic tests. And I'd agree with this because that was a huge curveball. I wish it would have come earlier because the book was not too exciting at the beginning, but I'd like to agree with Suzanne Rausch there that the curveball thrown by Veronica Roth in that instance was just incredible. Rebecca Hayes, she says that Chicago was a dystopia, which I'd like to disagree with, because although Chicago obviously was not perfect, they had factions, and for general purposes, everyone in the factions, besides a very select amount of people and erudite, seemed to be happy with what they were doing. It might be a dystopia from our perspective, but from the perspective of the people of the city, Chicago was in no way a dystopia. Another thing that Hayes says that I disagree with is that this book is immediately good from the beginning. She says that in support of the book, and although I loved the book, it was very slow. In fact, for the first 100 pages, I was considering switching books and seeing if that was allowed. It just was not too exciting in the beginning. Words were drawn out, descriptions would take pages, and the book had no action and pretty much no plot.
I'm on that wreck, fly like a jet, switching my lanes like I'm racing a vet.